Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the Nourishing Traditions, and today is day 3 with Emil with Sherban, and our topic is radionics on home, EMF, and water. How are you today, Emil?
I'm well, thanks. And yourself?
I'm good, thank God. So we want to talk about radionics. We've been talking about a couple of past days, and it's been really interesting, intriguing, so many new doors and so much to learn from you. Um, what else was there you think that you could share with us, starting with day 3?
So I'll go over again what radionics is a little more clearly with a little bit different perspective than what I've said so far.
Mm.
So with radionics, there is a device involved, which is basically a manifestation enhancer. So with radionics, it deals with areas where you have intentions broadcast. And it's kind of dealing with what you might call chi or prana, odic forces, tachyon, whatever type of name you want to give to it, which consists of material, energy, and information. So in radionics, you're using psychic information, using those energies to orientate and harmonize the body, the environment. So with that, what the device does is allow somebody's intentions to be enhanced, essentially, and an information exchange goes on. So the human body is one normal body. There's animal bodies. The environment is a body. Your home is a body. There's water bodies. It's all throughout the language, celestial bodies. So we all have an imprint of information. So in our bodies are the home of your spirit. So that when you're born, there's an energetic imprint. And that's mathematical. That's why astrologers will use the date, time, and your area of birth. So the longitude, latitude on this plane of existence. Mathematically, that they can get information that way. That's an imprint of who you are. And then you pick up things along the way. You start with your assumptions of life, which are downloaded at a very young age, generally throughout your teenage years. By the time you're an adult, those are hardwired, you can say.
Mm-hmm.
And after assumptions, you gain throughout your life different attitudes. Attitudes build off of your assumptions, which is the bedrock of who you are. Assumptions are very hard to change. In the material world, we really identify with that. Attitudes are a little more easy to change. You can look through your mind's eye of what happened in the last 4 or 5 years, and information broadcast through crystals or glass in fiber optic cables that are presented on plasma screens changed a lot of people's worldviews and behaviors, psychology overnight. This is how information exchange works. And then off of your attitudes, that's where you get your complexes. And those are capillaries from your attitudes, which are based in your assumptions. Those can change a lot more easily. So with the radionics, you can view it as a radionics practitioner is looking at your imprint that you have, and it will stay wherever you hunker down on this planet. So if you're always in your general vicinity, which most people are in the world, your imprint will always be in that environment. We can look at that. If with permission and cooperation, we can look at what information is your body giving us. We can go deeper into different organ systems, which are controlled by celestial bodies known as the 7 planets, which aren't planets. And in our culture, there's one planet, one sun, one moon. And then the celestial bodies and the stars are reflections of who you are. That comes down from this more of a quantum state, spirit. Now, when you're looking at chi, prana, whatever you call it, basically there's limitations on all of us based in these bedrocks of assumptions. So we can assume with modern day thinking and science experiments that the speed of light is as fast as these atomic particles move in the material world. Chi prana are the atomic particles that move faster than the speed of light.
Oh.
One of the download imprints is there's time and space, and time and space are the two measurements of the material realm on this planet. Those are the foundational measurements. So if you're looking at time and space and you're locked into the time code, now time is limiting because we're told we have so many seconds in a minute, so many minutes in an hour, so many hours in a day, so many days in a year, et cetera, so many so-called years of our life. And we believe that. So with the limit of time, of course, space has a limit, right? If it's said properly, space-time. Space, that would mean there's no limit. That means time is infinite. So that's how we can create different realities, a better sense of well-being, different experiences. Similar to yin and yang, as people say, right? So now there's a separation, and that's where misconstrued mental images of what the Tai Chi 2 and the yin yang principle is. Two separate things going in different directions. There's more masculine or feminine in different bodies or events or what have you.
Right.
It should be said yin yang. There is no separation. It's just what degree do we perceive things. Our perception is really guided when we're seduced by the material world, by the five senses. The five senses have a lot of great benefits for this experience, for joy, pleasure, safety against other material dangers, but it's extremely limiting.
Consumerism, yeah.
So when you ask me a question of with radionics, what are the limits to radionics?
Yeah.
The limits are what's placed on the individual practitioner mentally. Now, you could see that with people that look at different ways of thinking, especially outside of the extreme material world. Well, how can this work? How can that work? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they need reasoning, tangible reasoning for everything. Yeah.
It's an extreme masculine logic area, which I love logic. I spent a lot of my life in that realm of thinking. But it's not a balanced or harmonious state. So with radionics, what we do is we're looking to mitigate and neutralize any negative information coming with whether it's EMF or photons, however we're getting the information. And we're trying to balance and enhance the more positive aspects. This is done in the unseen areas.
So before we move on to our question, I just want to touch base a little bit. When you say imprint, so imprint in the world of physics is totally different than the imprint like a DNA or the thumbprint, which biometrically we use in the hospitals. Is it totally different imprint? What do you talk about?
My reference of the imprint is what information is imprinted physically. So your DNA, it's an imprint of how you are decoding the energies around you. And it's a cellular communication. So the DNA is giving the information that it's obtaining through photonic light, probably sound, and electric and magnetic, probably all five of those energies that are in every cell. When you are not working at a highly energetic state, your cells are opaque and it's like a cloud or a fog. So the light projection information is not, that energy and information is not getting to your cells at 100% because they're foggy. So that's one of the experiments we do, is trying to make your cells less opaque, more clear, so that the light can come through. It'll make a much more effective circuit.
Nice. There's so
So there's Korean acupuncture studies.
Yeah.
And they deal with DNA as light in the meridian system. It's more of a light source. That's why you can't, light source of information exchange. That's why it's very hard right now with many mechanical scientific instruments to chart out the meridian lines in a human being.
right.
Whereas there's many charts.
Acupuncture also, I'm sorry, the acupuncture also forms a circuit when with the device and the whole electrics.
Yeah, there's the yin yang circuits.
Yeah.
And there's coupled organs.
Yeah.
One is yin, one is yang. One, the flow generally goes up, one, the flow generally goes down. If in the circuit where the battery packs are, your biological battery packs are blocked or burnt out, so it's just as, it can be just as harmful to over exercise as it is to under exercise. For instance, you may burn out that your circuits in one lifestyle, or you may stagnate in another. But when that circuit, the battery circuit in the circuits turn off, they switch their polarity. They've drained in energy, so they can't turn back on. So that's how the circuits stop in layman's terms. They're not getting enough energy to complete the circuit. Now, other batteries along the battery pack in those circuits, as long as they're healthy, will keep generating, but that's where you get more fatigue and less performance out of your physical body. You can, and it's similar to the so-called immune system. So when the immune system switches polarity, so I believe there's obviously there's a large connection between meridians and what we call the immune system, the energy exchange system. That's in our on our worksheets. There's always a switch polarity, which is the third thing we do after we check general vitality of any body, even in a home. It doesn't matter. Any area can be looked at as a living body. It's a body network, whether it's how soils work underground to create nourishment, or the relationship between atmosphere and soil, or the relationship of your heart, lungs, mind, and your body.
This is mesmerizing, because as a physicist or somebody from a physics background can understand these things quite easily, but coming from a chemistry background, I would say, like we discussed, that probably the ATPs are forming a circuit in the body when they circulate in the bloodstream, and probably the mitochondria is acting as a tiny batteries in the body, and the muscle a pain is related to lactic acid release. And a lot of things what you say is, I can just imagine in a chemistry world as something with molecules, but I've never looked at it, or I never looked at a body in with perspective to quantum physics. So I'm sure
chemistry, like those are ATP, GDP, ADP, those in mitochondria, that's all a battery pack system. Circuits. And when those get overwhelmed and burned out, your cells, so you can look at the world in different ways.
Exactly.
Right. So one thing that inspired me years ago was to look at as small as I could and build out from there with the understanding of microcosm, macrocosm. You can, when I was younger, I looked more macrocosm down. And there's always that in the human experience, if you're curious about what is actually happening mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you have to always keep going back and forth. Not one is better than the other. They work in tandem. If you have more complete understanding. Now, consciousness is a big part of that, is based out of that energy that I talked about, however it's labeled, chi, prana, whatever. So consciousness, how we work is out of coming from the consciousness down you're collapsing possibilities. So but consciousness only goes so far. It's the most important aspect of being a human, I believe. Yet, if you don't have awareness, consciousness is useless, right? So you can have all the consciousness that you want, but if you don't know how to decipher what information that you're getting in your field is, it's not useless, but it's not extremely helpful.
Right.
It's good enough to get you by.
Right. What other terms, allegorically or metaphorically, would you use for consciousness? Just for a non-professional person listening to this.
So you can look, depends, like with Qigong or Tai Chi and these the Jing, Qi, Shen ideas, and it depends on the context you're talking about in those arts, obviously. But many words for Shen could be your consciousness, it could be intellect.
Could it be imagination?
Imagination is a part of it. Yeah,
Visualization?
that's so imagination with visualization is using your sight sense.
Right.
And through that, so when you visualize something, then if you practice that, you can create sensations in your hands. You can heat your body or cool it down. So you can work the senses that way. There's many, depends on how you want to cut the pie, but there's many ways to do it. And one thing as a chemist, what is alchemy? Alchemy was an older form of chemistry with the AL was taken out, or EL, or however in the word magic it is. They took spirit out of studying chemistry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Modern day chemistry. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when you're using imagination and consciousness and Shen and Qi to help your body, your physical body, which you have the ultimate respect for, ideally, because that is what home is housing your spirit. You're cultivating these different aspects with your mind and energy for better health and well-being.
Yeah.
So that's inner alchemy, where you're using all sorts of things, thought, intention, movement, to enhance the body that you're given, that allows you to experience this world. So with another important thing that with radionics, your only limit really is the limits that you put on yourself. Apply that to anything in your life and ask yourself, is what I'm doing, no matter how big or small it might seem to friends, family, whoever, society, are the techniques or thoughts or beliefs that I'm incorporating in this experience, is it helpful? If so, does it work? And maybe you want to understand how do I apply it? Those are the only 3 questions you really need. So it can work in both ways. It can either build up what you're doing, or if you're honest, you can say, okay, maybe this isn't serving me anymore. Which is, both ways are just as important. It depends on where you're at in life.
Right.
Something that served you well yesterday, if you're growing in this experience, may not serve you today. And do you have the courage, strength, bravery to let that go?
Yeah. So there is so much, because as a lay person, everybody wants to know reality, and everybody can create their own reality. I think through these practices, and it depends where they want to live, in what consciousness they want to live in. So that would be very different from every individual in every community, in every household. And we hope this knowledge goes to everybody where they can create their good, happy place. Hopefully.
I should reiterate again that radionics is not a medical device. It's not a healing device. It's nothing like that. All my worksheets or intake forms make that very clear. I don't have much use personally for corporate medicine, corporate government or politics, corporate religion. I think those are all shackles, essentially. But so what I learned was through experimentation and then applying those questions. Does it work? Is it helpful? Through experimentation in the natural world, not some sanitized lab, which, if you think about it, has little to do with any human being or animal or plant, right? So we do experiments. People are engaged with that. I do a fairly long intake and talk quite a bit, spend a lot of time, learn what do you want to gain? What do you want to look at? It's not up to me to tell you.
Right.
My teachers, when I was traveling in the more esoteric and shamanistic ways, the way to look at people's well-being or how they experience this world was to open up spirit, which in physics will go to those elusive measurements of chi and prana or whatever labels are put on them. So for me, my job is always to basically communicate to you, give you information in your information fields that you can have permission to heal yourself. You trust the body to fix itself. And that's where miracles occur. They shouldn't even be called miracles. That's just how degenerate the human consciousness is. And we're so if you go to a doctor in Canada, say, you're going to probably go into a room with in a certain mindset, in a certain vibration. That's probably not bravery. It's probably more fear or low. Now you're going to be told what to do.
Told,
You're going to
follow.
be given something. There'll be no communication of what your culture is, where you're at, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that, in our way, is wrong. It's a blockage, and it's another giving away your own power. So first and foremost, it's how do we imprint or communicate or share the information that actually you are all you need. Yes, I deal with vitamins and minerals, nutrition, exercise, all those things, and that is part of it, but they will not have a long-term, highly beneficial effect if you don't understand the spirit aspect.
I think doctors are not even taught nutritherapy or nutrition in medical school anyway. So yeah.
Oh, I've talked to doctors and over the last few years, the online conferences, and discussed ATP.
Oh, so
we heard about that years. I should have, pharmacists and this and that. Spent a few days on that. But never again. Thank you for bringing that up again. And I'm thinking, holy smokes.
Yeah, that's how it is.
But it's not a judgment either, because I'm very careful not to go to war with anything, including I don't like corporate medicine. That's the imprint on me. But I am not going to diss it. There is a time and a place for that, and I work with doctors. I've had some good experiences. That are kind of mind blowing to the average person. They don't understand what actually goes on. Some people in these institutions, but sometimes you get somebody that is open to working together, and you see people's lives change. Extreme.
So some of the doctors coming out from the MBBS training, they're the ones that when they start finding truth, then they come into naturopathy and other alternate healing fields, and they do wonders. Like they come up with them. I don't want to take names right now, but
almost any innovation in the so-called alternative, which most of the world still uses, for one simple fact, they can't afford this corporate medicine, right? That's most human beings. You will not know that if you live in a North American city glued to a television, right? But the fact of the matter is, most innovations, and quite often they get suppressed because they actually work, come from people that were in the system the system failed them. They were on death's door. So they had to figure something out on themselves, for themselves. So they created, like Mike, he's going to lose his feet, amputate, didn't want to do that. Okay, I know about light and sound and how it works with the cells. Regenerate the tissues. Regenerate the cells, regenerate the tissues. Like there's that chain of command in the body that goes from the very small to
A lot of things.
organ to organ system and all the way up. And most people don't apply that knowledge.
Yeah, and they don't want to come out of this box. You just have to come out of the box and think that just reading on Google or on something WebMD is saying that it has no treatment. It's gonna degenerate and that's it. There's no treatment. How do you just accept it or you still want to find a treatment? So depends on how big you want to think. So I think, can we start our question now? The first one I would like you to talk about is how can radionics be applied to balance and mitigate the effects of electromagnetic fields within a household environment, particularly the urban city houses?
So the point of the radionics is to mitigate negative energies or negative frequencies or rates, as we call them. So with a measurement of what's going on in your home, you see what the priorities are, what is out of balance. And then that's step one. Step two is to elevate and balance out those negative, harmful frequencies or rates to your body or environment. So first of all, we'll check the rates to see what's going on and then rebalance them.